Jesus, and you know that he's a genius. It's a miracle that they found best to contain his massive. They call him Gung Ho Muttley. Gung Ho Muttley. 'When he walks into a room, he walks in with a boom, and he brings with him the smell of win. It's the champion's perfume. Gung Ho Muttley. They call him Gung Ho Muttley.
Welcome to Work the Left Side. I am beyond hyper hyped to announce tonight's guest. He is back in the house. More gold medals than ever before, no doubt. I am obviously talking about the one they call Gung Ho Muttley. Sir, are you good?
I am very good, as Gung Ho Muttley always is, you know. All my medals are just slightly off screen. There's a gigantic pile of them just off camera.
Yeah, mate, that much bling. The light would be bouncing all over the shop.
Exactly. The light that you can see on my face right now, the little gold tint in the room, I've got no lamps on. That's the reflection of the gold from all the medals.
There we go. Who needs one of those Who needs one of those super duper ring things? Just get yourself some gold medals, man. Put an effort in.
Yeah, well, it's not easy. You've got to be a sports star the caliber of Gung Ho Muttley, so it's not easy, you know.
No, right, but it's something to strive to, man. It gives us that goal. It's something to try and achieve. Everybody needs an icon. Everybody needs a role model.
I'm happy to be that role model. You know. Oh.
Mate, this is that. Obviously, I sort of said, you making your return. We was talking about it just before I hit record, and I meant to look at the exact date, but I didn't want to look because it would upset me because I lose track of time. And I was like, no, it's not been that long. And it was like, no shit, yeah, it's probably been nearly 2 years since.
It might have been 2 years, if not at least it's close to that. To put it in perspective, the last time we spoke, I was not wearing orange.
No. And had no gold, no titles, no honor.
I think I'd just started doing the sports star gimmick.
Yeah.
Literally just. I think I was like 2 to 3 months in. Because the way I showed up on your radar is, I believe, you might correct me if I'm wrong, is when I started doing the sports star gimmick on Blackheart Unleashed. Yeah. And I was just starting out. I'm not gonna lie, I watch those clips back now, and I don't necessarily cringe because we all have to start somewhere, but it's very noticeable that I've not figured the gimmick out yet.
Yes.
It's still really early days. I'm playing it more as like, I think the jokes I'm trying to tell are a bit like forced and over the top, and I'm trying to be like a jock. And I think by now, I mean, I'm sure that maybe in a few more years' time, I'll look back at what I'm doing at this point and think, oh wow, I've improved even more.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see the improvement since the last time I was here and I started doing the sports star gimmick, where I think I was just a little bit rocky and I'd not quite figured out what I wanted it to be yet, which I would say I have by now.
Yes. I mean, right, so everywhere's got to start somewhere kind of thing. And I don't know if there's a pun intended there where you say a little bit rocky because, I remember the Blackheart sports montages where you're like doing the running and like you and Sammy got competing against each other, like playing tennis or basketball or stuff like that. But that is what got you on my radar was, that thing on, it was the first ever episode of Blackheart, we talked about in the last episode, like you literally just popped up on my screen and sort of says, welcome to your new favorite wrestler. And I was like, you know what? Pretty much, straight out of the gate. Right, this guy's got my attention. He is my new favorite wrestler.
And there's still some stuff that has retained from that. Like, it's not like that were a complete misstep and I've amended it. Like, the Gung Ho Muttley, the sports star gimmick that I started with there, some stuff has bled through. And, when I did that Rocky montage, I think that was the first thing I did as the sports star gimmick. That I was like, oh, I'm so happy with that. Like, I really loved that. I loved doing it. Sammy were amazing. Sammy helped out with all of that as well. Props to him. He held the camera for the whole thing. He also was in it, and I remember saying to him, like, I want you in at this bit. I don't know if we spoke about that the last time I was here. When we did that montage gimmick, we had to quick run into the playground and get the footage of us both sliding on the side and run out because I was like, we can't hang around this playground with a camera, just two adult men. But that was so much fun, and I actually want to start doing more stuff like that again. A little sneak peek. I don't think it'll be ready for the next show, but I've just bought a green screen that I'm going to put up against that wall, and that will impact the stuff I do for Gung Ho Muttley. If you can imagine the sports star gimmick and how a green screen can be utilized for the promos and segments of that gimmick. And I'm also going to do a new Tron. Again, I don't think it'll be ready for the next show, but I've got a full shot list, an idea, and I've got my friends who are filmmakers to help out make this Tron that I've got in mind. I want a full... I'm kind of inspired by, if you're a fan of WWE, Kit Wilson kind of came out recently and he had this big Tron where he were, it was really vibrant and cool. And I had the idea before that, but that made me realize how impactful a good Tron can be to a gimmick.
Yeah,
and I always tell people, like, you need to, with wrestling themes, I think people just go, oh, I'll just use this royalty-free theme I found on YouTube. And I'm just thinking, like, look how much themes can help get people over. Like, to use the biggest examples, if you look at the biggest stars in wrestling, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, you could probably think of all their themes off the top of your head. And the average person can go, oh, what an iconic theme,
Yeah.
And even myself, obviously, way further down the totem pole, but, like, I have gotten over so much because of my theme. And I just feel like, people need to utilize that more. And I feel like a Tron is another thing that can be utilized, which is what I want to do. So, yeah.
Dude, fully agree about the music. I mean, that is one thing. Your music, even when, like, occasionally, just randomly on episodes when I'm talking to people or, like, talking about Andrew's music, I must have mentioned your song about 10 times. And the thing is, though, people know it, like, even like the most random people from, like, who don't work over here. Like, I've spoken to people in the Northeast kind of thing, the Scousers. I'll mention Gung Ho Muttley's music, like, oh yeah, shit, I've heard that. That's fucking awesome. I'm like, there you go. You're in it. It's spread, and that. Because that's the thing, like, even last time we spoke, I mentioned that, and I even sort of said, oh, Sash was bigging up your music, and that was before you was on True Grit. That was on, that was, like, so said, early days, really, of the gimmick of the character. But even Sash is like, yeah, man, I love that music. I was like, oh shit, you actually got a compliment from Sash for a start, which is a fucking, it doesn't happen very often. That's how good it is. And I've used the music on this episode. You're the first person who's entered music. I've been like, mate, I need to use that on the intro. I need to do that as part of the coming into the episode. It wouldn't be a Gung Ho Muttley episode if we didn't get that music to start it with, kind of thing.
No, I appreciate that. I think the theme has become such a part of my act and what I'm so associated with, which I'm absolutely fine with. I'm not going to knock anything that helps me get over. And the theme is absolutely, I would say, top of the list. Although there are other things getting up there, I think now, but, like, the theme is, I think, the number one thing that people remember me for. Go on, sorry.
That's great. He got the technical. I don't know if probably the phrase isn't right, but he kind of got the foot in the door. Like I say, it's the first thing, but once they remember that, then they start remembering everything else. They start sort of seeing everything else, acknowledging other stuff. I mean, we'll get to it down the road, kind of thing. But, like, the elimination board, which we'll talk about in a bit, that's another thing. That's kind of memorable. The theme tune, you mentioned all those guys before, like Brett, Austin, Rock, and stuff, but it's more Bobby Roode for me. It's more like glorious. It's more like, he comes out and he interacts with it, the crowd sing along with it, kind of thing. That's yours. Did you come out with this lacrosse stick? You're singing along to it, the crowd singing along to it. It's just, it's glorious. Pun intended.
Well, kind of a light bulb moment a few years ago. I think it was at Blackheart. In fact, it was definitely about a year and a half ago, because when I started the sports star gimmick and I started coming out with a lacrosse stick, I remember being in the ring and I just felt really pumped up on my entrance. Like, the crowd were really getting behind me, and I had the lacrosse stick. And I remember in just the moment deciding to sing and pretend the lacrosse stick was the mic. And I just did that. I did not think about it beforehand. I just did it in a moment. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I've unlocked something here. And now I do that every single time. And I've got compliments from people specifically for doing that. People have said, like, it's great how you use the acrostic to thing. And I'm like, yes, because rather than have all my different elements be just separate from each other, it's like I want it all to feel like part of the same gimmick. So it's like, I have the theme, I have the acrostic, I have the tally board, I have the medals. How do I merge it all? And entrances, like I say, I think they're a really big deal. I think, like I said, recent examples, Kit Wilson, Joe Hendry is another great example of an entrance getting somebody over. Not that Joe Hendry needed much help getting over, but I think I've always admired Joe Hendry's ability to use music and use entrances and that sort of thing as part of the act. And I just kind of thought the entrance is the opportunity to sort of establish yourself and get your gimmick over. So for me, how can I use that entrance in different bits to get all the character over? So obviously there's the singing with the acrostic, and then I pause in the middle of a ring and put my hands behind my back so my caddy or whatever helper is with me can put the medals around my neck. And then I spray myself with a spray bottle. I do the swans pose. The swans. And somebody a bit ago were like, you need to stop flexing so hard because you're going to hurt yourself. And I'm like, I'm pretending to flex really hard. I'm not actually like, I'm shaking on purpose because it's funny, to play a guy who tries to be so cool that he is like over flexing and clearly hurting himself to flex as hard as he is doing, So yeah, the entrance for me is a big opportunity to really play the character and establish the character in a way that I think, by no means am I criticizing people, but I just think there's a lot of people who maybe aren't aware that they can use the entrance in such a way. Although I do have a very out there loud gimmick, which a lot of people don't have. A lot of people have a million different skills that are way beyond what I can do in the ring. But I feel like, with such a loud character that I have, the entrance is a great way to kind of establish that.
Especially, mate, since we've talked about, I mentioned True Grit kind of thing, I'll use that as an example, shout out as well for being the most sponsored wrestler on the True Grit roster. But, for people who don't know you, if it's people's first time seeing you, the entrance is key. As fans, I hear promoters say it. I hear, people saying it like, you kind of got to treat every show or every performance as there's going to be people in that audience. It's their first ever show, or they haven't seen you. They don't know you. You've got to get across your character, or if you're a good guy or a bad guy, like that. You've got 10, 20 seconds, and that's what your entrance does. That's why the entrance is key. If you're coming out as face, we know your face. If you're coming out as heel, and you heal up a little bit, it's clear that you're a heel and that we need to boo you.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I always think that, you see some people make the mistake of, they know that this crowd know me, blah, blah, blah. But, if there's one new person in that room that night, that is a person who could become a massive fan. Yeah. And if you're not working your best because, they all already know me here, then you're putting you're killing your opportunity to gain that new fan. And every fan is a win, like a lot of the fans I've been gaining, and I feel like, I do feel like my ring work and a lot of the stuff I do in my matches is obviously a big part of it, especially the stipulation sponsored matches that I've been working, and we'll get to that. But I do feel like a lot of people who come up to me and go, I'm such a big fan, I love you, blah, blah, blah. A lot of them talk about my entrance and they'll do this, or they'll talk about the singing, or they'll sing the theme, So I feel like the entrance is definitely a big part of where my recent fan base has come from.
I think it gets their attention, but then once you've got their attention, you keep it. That's what's key. You don't lose them after the entrance. You keep hold of their attention because of everything you do in the ring. Like sort of said, man, you're in ring work. I'd say I've followed you for the last few years since like the first episode of Blackheart kind of thing. Mate, your ring work has gone up tenfold. It's crazy impressive. Like how good you've improved kind of thing. Not how good, but how much you've improved. It's crazy. I know from speaking to you last time that was a drive. I know you've got that determination, and you're always like, I want to get better, and you bigged up Sean for that kind of thing. You sort of said, I've used it again, as an example, when talking to people about criticism or but positive feedback or creative criticism, you said, Sean pulled you aside one time, early days, was like, it was good, but you could do this, this, and this, and you took that feedback on board, and you improved, and you've constantly improved since.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, like, he didn't even say that. He brought me to one side and were like, that was pretty bad. Like, he just outright told me, they were like, your match, well, he said you're complacent, you're this, you're, and he weren't saying it mean. He were trying to help me. You could see in his words, in the subtext of what he was saying, he were like, you could be good, but you're just being complacent, which you were totally right. And and you've got to take that criticism on. I feel like as workers, as soon as we turn our nose up when people try, and especially somebody with the skill of Sean Only and the experience, as soon as we turn his nose up at that, what are we doing? We're not going to succeed. And I see people who do struggle to take criticism on, or do refuse to even ask for criticism, and they are not ascending at all. I see them, and I try not to say this in a snobby way, but, there are your lower levels of wrestling, and we all have to start somewhere. And I started at my lower, the lower level shows, and I see people who are stuck there, and it's not because they're bad; it's because they're just not listening to the right people. They're refusing to take on advice, and I always try and do that. And Sean Only, if you want to hear me sing his praises, I did it on the last episode, but I will stay to this day. I still train under Sean Only. He's still fantastic. He still improves me. And the reason I improve every single time I go out there, every new show as a wrestler, is because of Sean Only. Like, I have him to thank for the amount of the amount I've improved and the amount I've grown. And when I first talked to you, I was like wrestled on Blackheart, and I wrestled on a few shows, and now I'm on True Grit. And I've been on Burnley, and I'm a Blackheart champion, I'm a Fountains champion, and I'm just developing this fan base, and I'm really getting out there and ascending. And I've got an idea that this year I'll hopefully get on more big shows. I'm not going to name them, but the aim is to get on bigger shows.
Sorry about this.
I thought you were going to. Okay, I thought you were going to suggest a show.
I'll suggest all the shows. That's all promotions. But Gung Ho, is one of those characters. Would work on any promotion. Yeah,
I don't want to mention them before I,
try
and get my foot in the door. But yes, there are certainly places that I have my eyes on, that I'm a big fan of, that I'd love to work. And it's realistic for me to get there because of the amount I've improved, because of the improvement of Sean Only that he's given to me. And another thing I'd say as well, just to carry on talking, if that's okay, kind of referring to something you said earlier. I think when I started doing the sports star gimmick, I think it was a little bit of, I've always been like more of an actor, and I've come from an acting and theatre background, and so I've always go on. Sorry.
No, I was just doing the Othello thing, so I was acting.
Oh yes. maybe that's a future gimmick. Who knows? But so I always wanted to like lean into the character stuff. But in the last few years, I think I have really come along in the ring, and I kind of wanted to prove to people, like, look, I'm not just a character, because I think there's a stigma against comedy wrestlers or character wrestlers, which is, they're a great character, but they can't work. And I really wanted to fight against that, and I really wanted to prove that I can go in the ring. But it's not just the song and the swans and the lacrosse stick and the tally board and the promos and the comedy. It's like, when that bell rings, I can do a good match. And I wanted to prove that, and I feel like I have proven that. I went in there with Matt and Kirby. I went in there with Jack Bandicoot. I did 2 matches with Sammy Blue, and I think the second match I did with Sammy Blue, the no disqualification match, is one of the best matches I've ever done in my life. I think it was astounding. For context as well, halfway through that match, I landed really poorly, and I did muscle damage in my lower back. And I had to go to A&E, and they told me, like, yeah, this is like really bad. You can you're going to struggle to stand. You need to take about 2 months off. I did that halfway through the match, and I was struggling to stand, and I gritted my teeth through it and still worked the match. And I think it was fantastic. personally.
Yeah.
And then recently, I just fought Billy O'Keefe at the start of this year, and we did a 30-minute match, and we wanted it to 30 minutes, and we were talking to the back, and we said, like, Fountains weren't against it, but we were very much pushing, like, we want to do 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think there was an unspoken thing of, like, we know Billy can do 30 minutes, but can Gung Ho Muttley do 30 minutes? And I really wanted to prove that I can. And I can handle myself up there with Billy O'Keefe, I'm not the tech worker that he is. I can't fly off the top rope and do springboards and all this that he can. But I can go in the ring and I can handle myself. And I feel like I think we made a really great 30-minute match. And I think that's one of the best matches I've ever had. And I have to thank Billy because he's an incredible sparring partner. But I'm proud of that 30-minute match with Billy O'Keefe. And I hope people watch that match and go, oh, look, Gung Ho's not just the theme tune. He's not just a sports star comedy guy. He can actually wrestle, I hope I proved that.
I was going to shout that match out because obviously, I watch all the FCB stuff. I've never made it to a show, but I always watch it on YouTube like the day after when I can. So if you've never watched FCB, the YouTube's on there. Every show is, it's on the live thing on the YouTube. Go check them out. So amazing matches, some amazing people. But yeah, I remember watching that match and I tried to make a little reel of it to post and get people to go and watch the full match kind of thing. And that was so hard to get down to 90 seconds, because it was a 30-minute match, but it was just so much stuff in there. It wasn't like a 30-minute match with probably 10 minutes of action. It was 30 minutes match, 30 minutes of action. Great storytelling, back and forth. Like so I said, yeah, Billy does the springboard stuff, but you do like the spine on the pine, like the ankle lock, working the leg. You're telling that story. You trying to get me to that submission hold at the end. Just stuff like that. It was just, yeah.
Yeah, for me, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that because I'm so proud of that match. I would put that in my top 3 of the entire time I've been wrestling at. It's hard to pick a top 3. Off the top of my head, oh god, no, I don't even think I could. But I'll say some top contenders. It's that one. It's the
Lego.
It is my Lego match with Tim Strange. I was just about to say the Lego match. I'll get to that and talk about that a bit more soon. But my Lego match with Tim Strange is up there. My no disqualification match with Sammy Blue from not last year. Yeah, last year. Yeah, the start of last year. Yeah. And the match I won the Blackheart Championship against Sean Only. I don't know if you've seen that one. That might be the most precious match to me, like in my heart, like what that match meant to me. Yeah. There was so much in that match, and I was going to write a big post about it for New Year's, and I wrote this huge essay, and I've backspaced it all out. I struggle to be, I struggle to pour my heart out sometimes about things. Nice mug, by the way. I've just noticed.
Well, I've got it for Christmas. I thought,
it's lovely. It's lovely.
I've got some merch. Nobody else wants some. I've got some.
I have to get a Gung Ho Muttley mug. But yeah, so that match, it was Blackheart Wrestling is one of the promotions, if not the promotion, that means the most to me personally, because when I was getting started, I started training at UKW, and then when I branched away from UKW quite early on, I went at UKW a super long time, maybe just over a year. I branched away to Blackheart because I made friends with Henry Winter. We became very good friends, and he told me about Blackheart, and I came in with him from the ground up. So day one, I was in on Blackheart. So I have been there with Blackheart from the first, not just the first show, but from the conception of it. Yeah. I remember it being suggested, to me when it was an idea. And now, we're all this time later and we're selling out every show, and it's become this, I would say it's a juggernaut, especially in Guiseley. It's just become, a lot of people say it's this hidden gem of a wrestling show. It's this secret,
Not anymore. Not anymore. I used to say it was the hidden gem of Yorkshire wrestling, and then Mr. Winter pointed out it's not hidden anymore. It's
no, it's not. We sell out every show. We don't just sell out every show. We sell out every show, and then people message begging for tickets. Someone messaged me and were like, "I haven't been able to get tickets for Blackheart," and I was like, I can't help. I don't have anything to do with that. I'm just one of the wrestlers. But yeah, so Blackheart has become this massive thing, and so I care about it so much. Like, on my wall over there, I have the poster for the first ever Blackheart show that we ever did. I'm not even on it, but I have it on my wall. And so that's a promotion that I really care about. And so that Blackheart Championship, which I grabbed, but it's downstairs. It was so special to me. Like, and it's always been special to me. And it's always a championship that I've wanted to win. And I remember, we had a lot of conversations about me winning that Blackheart Championship over the last year because I was starting to become really popular at Blackheart, and my theme and my gimmick and my crowd work and how I interacted with specifically the guys, the fans, of the kids, was really starting to resonate. And so we were talking about pushing me as the next champion, and that was something that the whole time I was nervous about, and the whole time I was like scared it was going to get taken away, like, because plans change. Exactly, like, you've heard it all before. Oh, I was supposed to win this championship, and then on the day of, they told me no, blah, blah, blah. And, even all the way up until, like, I don't want to give away the process, but there were moments where, the creative was almost changing, and there were points where they were like, oh, should we do this? Should we pull the trigger on this? And so I was like, and I would have accepted whatever they did, but there were definitely a fear that we're not going to culminate. And finally, we're in the match, and it's in my, this promotion that means so much to me. So the championship that I've always wanted to win. It's against Sean Only, who's this mentor figure to me.
Yeah.
And it's in a feud that myself and Sean and Sammy and Billy and Jay and Creed and the Wombats, we've all worked together to make this great storyline. And Loz and Winter, who run Blackheart, they've been helping out with it as well. And it's just this amazing storyline where obviously Sammy Blue betrayed me and joined the Only Boys. He cost me my championship opportunity earlier in the year. And, there's just been all this stuff. It's just been, a proper blood feud. And it's been this really good storytelling. And it's just built and built and built. And then, before that match, actually, to slightly go back a bit, Sean Only kind of said to me, he was like, he had all these ideas for the actual wrestling, the actual ring work. And he said to me, he was like, look, I assume, because he knows I like storytelling and big storytelling. He was like, I assume you've got ideas for what you want to do with all the, the story stuff in the match, the big, the interference, because we wanted a WrestleMania 40 type, shebang, where there'd be interferences and stuff. And I was like, I sure do have all those ideas. I sure do. Like, so, we had like the Only Boys interfering, like Billy and Jay came in. I remember Wombats fought them off, and then the referee goes down because Sean Only knocks out the referee, and then he beckons, and then Sammy Blue comes out in a referee shirt. And, the crowd at that point are like, oh, no, Muttley's definitely lost. Yeah. And Sammy and Sean keep hitting me with, like, finishers. I think Sammy hits me with a lacrosse stick, and then Sean Only curb stomps me, and Sean pins me. And when I kicked out, I think that might be the loudest reaction I've ever heard at wrestling. Genuinely, the crowd, I think, were like, oh, well, that's it.
Yeah.
And then it only got topped when later on in the match, after Sammy's been dispatched, I get hit with a second curb stomp and then pinned, and then I kick out of that. And I think that got an even bigger reaction. It's like, holy shit, he just kicked out of 2 curb stomps. Because I'm a big believer in not giving your finisher away unless it means something.
Yeah.
So I think there is an impact to 2 kickouts of a finisher for these big special moments, I'm not always a big fan of like the matches where there's like 5 finisher kickouts, but I think 2 can definitely work for a special occasion, Yeah. And then I got him in the ankle lock, and it's the big bad, the big villain in the ankle lock. And the Only Boys are trying to get to him, but they've pissed off the locker room so much that the entire locker room has funneled out to stop them. And then Sean Only, with no help, taps out. And again, the pop were insane. I've just never heard anything like it. And I genuinely, like, as I was holding the Blackheart Championship, I had tears in my eyes and I teared up.
With a tear in my eye.
Yeah, it was genuinely, it were a moment that really meant a lot to me. And I can't take credit for it alone, because it was the hard work of all these people who were involved. And, you know, I think a lot of people credit myself because the moment was for me and it was my moment, but I couldn't have had that moment if it wasn't for, you know, the incredible work of a lot of people. So, you know, I have to thank everybody who was involved in that storyline, because they all played their parts amazingly and gave me my favorite moment of my career. So, yeah.
That's Blackheart for you, though, isn't it? You know, that whole collective, everybody kind of working together. Like I said, everything great that's going on at Blackheart is because of everybody that's involved, kind of thing. You know, it's just such a group of people that it's amazing to see. It's the definition of good shit happening to good people for me. And I'm just like, that's why I'll back it 100%. I love Blackheart. I don't get to the shows anywhere near as much as I would do, but I live vicariously. You know, Dan was there on Sunday now, so I get to live through Dan. It was his first show there. Obviously, you talk about new fans, you know, Paul and the kids, you know, the Gung Ho Muttleys are there now, kind of thing. And it's just like, yes.
Well, yeah, the fans are amazing. And the fans at Blackheart are like, you know, I'm getting a lot of the fans I have at True Grit are a lot of like, not necessarily, but a lot of them tend to be like older fans who kind of appreciate what I'm doing. They appreciate, you know, the comedy shtick I'm doing. Like a lot of the people who come up to me from True Grit are adults. You know, it's not always the case. Like the Gung Ho Muttleys came from True Grit, but a lot of the people who come up, you know, like are adults who are like, oh, we love the act, we love the comedy stuff, we love all this. But the fans I get from Blackheart are the kids, and they're the ones who kind of idolize me, you know, which is a weird feeling. So the other day, I got reached out to by a lovely woman who I'm not going to mention the name of because she's not in the, you know, the industry, but she messaged and she was like, hey, look, my grandson's a huge fan. Can you come to his birthday party and surprise him? So I showed up to his birthday party, and I'll try and I'll see if I can get it up on my phone. I showed up at this kid's birthday party, and it was kind of mental. Here I am. Hang on, let me turn my phone around. I don't know if you can see this. Here I am with Marshall from Paw Patrol and Mickey Mouse with his little boy, Kyron, who wanted to see Gung Ho Muttley at his birthday party. And being able to do something like that, genuinely, when I got asked to do that, like, I don't know if Kyron's grandma, like, whether she, like, knew, whether she assumes that I get this all the time or not, but I don't. And it genuinely made me cry. I was like, it just so overwhelmed me with, like, wow, there are kids who look at me like how I looked at, you know, John Cena and such when I was a kid. You know, I'm really trying not to sound arrogant or narcissistic there when I say that. Like that is the case. Like this kid asked for me at his birthday party, which is insane. You know, and being able to have that impact on kids is because I know, like I said, we were all there. We were all a kid who had these idols, you know, and being able to be that is, you know, insane.
That is just immeasurable. That is crazy, but in such a cool way. Like you sort of said, you know, and again, anybody knows me. I'm a dad. Yeah, I would do anything for my kids, kind of thing. And if somebody could come along and make them that happy or put that smile on the face, dude, that shit is priceless. That is just amazing. That is just literally just recharged my soul. It's just one of those things. But for it to be you as well, like you said, it's just. Especially like, you know, a promotion like a Blackheart kind of thing. You know, as I say, when you come out, you work in, you know, you're the baby face, you're the, you know, the good guy of the company kind of thing. And that's, who the kids look up to. That's just, dude, It's not egotistical, it's not arrogant. It is just literally, like I said, they ask for you and you've made that impression. You know what I mean? That's what wrestling should be to the kids. Obviously, as adults, you sort of say adults appreciate it in different ways. Wrestling to kids should be they get to see their heroes. They get somebody to look up to.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the point of it, isn't it? Especially if you're a babyface, you're trying to be this larger than life character, and you're trying to, at Blackheart, I've said before to Sammy, the character I am trying to play at Blackheart is, your Superman, your Captain America. I just want to be this big, larger than life hero with good morals. And, some people find that boring. Like a lot of people booed John Cena when he was trying to do that. And I understand that, it's not something I would do on many other promotions. I think if I turned babyface, for example, at True Grit, I wouldn't do that. But at Blackheart, I know what my audience is. I know what my role in the card is. I am the top babyface at Blackheart. And the demographic is mainly kids. It's a lot of, young kids who look up to us as larger-than-life people. So if I'm their main babyface, for me, it is important to be this Superman, Captain America figure, who imbues good morals and good messages of, be a good person and, be a sportsman, and that's that's how I try and change the sports star a little bit at Blackheart, So yeah, I think Blackheart is one where I kind of change my act up a little bit compared to everywhere else because I am aware of the impact I have,
It's knowing your audience, like so you've got to do that. Like again, you speak to people, and it's like they'll change the character or tweak the character depending on the promotion they're in, or like sort of said, the key audience. That's the thing with Blackheart. It's grown over the last couple of years. It's a family show kind of thing. There's kids there, but it's not just that. But wrestling is a variety show. You're the kids' heroes. It's like, and again, the adults will appreciate the work. They kind of, cause they can look back and be like, yeah, this guy can go, he can work, he's a solid character, everything's bosh. So you're ticking all the boxes. It's I'm still just gobsmacked. Love it. But from pleasantries and heroes and icons and all that kind of sort of stuff, we mentioned it a minute ago. I'd be amiss if I didn't just jump straight into it. The Lego match, mate. I've got to ask about it. Obviously, getting to work with Tim Strange. Tim's awesome. We love Tim at Work the Left Side. He's an absolute awesomeness. But yeah, the Lego match as well, though, dude.
Mate, so yeah, props to Tim Strange. He's fantastic. I loved working Tim. I've always got on with Tim before that match. Like we've worked a few shows, like never together, but I've been on a few cards with him. I've got on with Tim. And so when they said you're working Tim Strange, I was really excited, especially in the stipulation. Like one of the promos from us beforehand, which is something I wanted to deliver on as well. I remember JC asked me for the promo. I don't know if you remember seeing the promo that I did against him. As soon as he asked for that, I ran. I went like, he asked me for it like in the evening at like 6 or 7. And I was like, please, can I give you this tomorrow? And he was like, yeah, sure. Because I wanted to run to the Halloween shop, the fancy dress shop, so I could buy the mustache. Just so I could do the promo, because I was like, I have to have his mustache. I have to do an impression of Tim Strange. And I did that promo. And again, I think, I did that promo, and off the back of it, I got quite a few followers because it got shared on the True Grit account. And for me, it's like, could I have forgone the mustache and just done a normal promo? Sure. But that extra bit of effort is always something I'll try and put in. So running to the shop and getting a mustache. I already have the cowboy hat. And I tried to paint the like bull tattoo. It ended up looking like Baby Yoda. But I was like, I can't be asked to wipe it off and redo it. It is going to take ages to wipe that off. So yeah, did the promo, had loads of fun doing that. And it got a great reaction from people. Got a great reaction from Tim. Tim posted it on his story and we're like, well, I don't remember saying this, but there I am saying it. And then there was a match, which, oh my God, the most brutal match I've ever worked, for sure. My back was in pieces. And again, I'll try and get a picture because I'm sure you've seen what my back looked like, but for the sake of anybody who didn't, I will try and find a picture of it. Because they wanted us to go through Lego. And I think the plan was for me to just take one Lego bump. There's the back.
Yeah.
Gory stuff. And I think I took 5 bumps, maybe 6 in the Lego. Again, I wanted to kind of prove myself. I wanted to prove that it's not a mistake and it's not a fluke to book me at True Grit. You know, I can go and I will put in the effort and I will go the extra mile. True Grit is a place I've wanted to work for a very long time, and I've been working towards True Grit for a long time. I remember walking through Leeds City Centre, and I saw on one of the big advertising boards a big massive poster for True Grit, and I remember looking at it and being like, man, I would love one day to be on one of these. And I made it a bit of a personal goal to just be on one True Grit show, just so I could be on the poster. And now I've been on a bunch of True Grit shows and I've been on a bunch of posters. I don't even 5, 6, maybe more. I don't really know. I've got 5 on the tally board over there, but I've actually
at least 6. There's been 3 sponsored. There was the Fatal 4. There was a Fatal 4-way.
Yes. So I've been on 5 True Grit shows because I obtained 2 losses in one night, and then there was a Rumble, and then there was a match against Sammy, and then there was the Tim Strange match. But then what's not on there is another match I had at True Grit earlier last year, which was the Fatal 4-way against the Blackheart Fatal 4-way, which has not been tallied. That was before the tally board became a thing. So, so it was a big aim to get on True Grit, and I finally did. And now I'm a bit of a regular there. So that's incredible. But as soon as I did start getting on True Grit, it was like, right, I need a show that I can stay here, that, you know, I can deliver. A moment that I think is sadly a little bit forgotten is, you know, I'm all for my moments, and I think in my match with Sammy, that was my first tally loss. We did, I don't know if you remember, but we did the big finish where Sammy pulled my trousers down, and I had the football boxers on, and I was like screaming, trying to pull my trousers up, and as I was pulling them up, Sammy hit me with the code red. I think that's a great moment. I sadly don't see it talked about or shared as much, which is a shame, because I really thought it would be quite a big moment that people talked about more, but it is what it is. Sometimes things don't quite land. It got a great reaction on the night. Yeah. You know, it got a really good reaction. People loved it. People were really talking about it on the show. And then afterwards, you know, it just seems to have fallen by the wayside. And it didn't, I'm not too bothered because stuff like this doesn't bother me, but it didn't get mentioned at all in the best moments of the year poll. And I was a bit like, I would have at least liked it to be on there somewhere, but it wasn't. It is what it is. Like I said, some things just don't land how you want them.
Just have 2 on it this year. It's fine.
Well, the Lego match did end up on there, but the Lego match were on there before it was available for anybody to watch.
Yeah.
So it didn't get voted, and I was like, you know, it's a shame because I think the Lego match were great, but it just missed the boat on getting voted for because, like I said, it wasn't available to watch on Triller by the time that poll finished.
Dude, the Rumble will have to be in there as one of the moments. That Rumble, mate, you're talking about, obviously, like, and that's what you bring to True Grit. That's what nobody else does. You know what I mean? And for them to allow you to do that, mate, you was like one of the MVPs of that Rumble. There's 2 or 3 people who just absolutely shone in that Rumble, and you were one of them. You were like one of the 3 people that just made that Rumble so good because of the moments like that. That bit where you just thrown everybody out and you was marking up, you know, the caddy was marking up the eliminations on the board. Everybody just climbs back in. You're just in the middle of the ring. Everybody's surrounding you. And it's just that realization of being like, shit. Yeah. But mate, that moment for me has been one of my favorite moments, you know, at any True Grit show.
I appreciate that. That did get a good reaction, the Rumble spot. And I think me and JC, like, I talked to JC about that Rumble spot a bit before the Rumble, I believe. Like, that were not like come up with on my night. That were like something I had in the in the barrel ready to go. I think before JC even asked me for the Rumble, I was just kind of hoping I would be in it so I could do that spot. He asked, I was like, hey, I've got this idea. I was straight in with it. I had a few ideas, and that was one of them. And I was kind of just waiting to see what stuck with JC.
Yeah.
There were a few people who, because I am. This is fine. I am the comedy guy, or one of the comedy guys at True Grit. I'm very aware that that's sort of one of my roles, and because of that, I'm like very much comedy low card guy. And because of that, well, not low card. That's not a good way of putting it. Because I'm not low card at all. I think that's a miss. I'm trying to think of a word I'm saying. I'm the comedy guy who loses a lot. Obviously, is the better way of saying it. Low card was not a word. I'm not low on the card. That's all. Yeah, I think because of the role I play, I think a lot of people were like, oh, are you going to get Santino'd? And a lot of people assumed I was going to be the guy who runs in and gets instantly clotheslined out. And I expected that might be what I got asked to do. And I'm kind of glad I didn't get asked to. Like, I got ahead of it and said to JC, like, hey, if I am going to get Santino'd, could I do it this way? And kind of like had an idea for it. But that's not what he wanted to do at all. And he wanted me to be in there for a little bit. So, which I'm very thankful for, because the opportunity to get to work with some of the people in that Rumble was great. There's so many talented people. One of the people I worked with most in that Rumble was Troy Ryan, who is just so great. I think Troy Ryan is fantastic. He's a really great guy. He's a really great worker. It were quite lovely to get to work with him in there. And we planned out my elimination, which sadly got cut off on the stream. But,
I know. I did the review episode and I had to use my phone footage and put it onto the episode just to show
I get, because sometimes you time things at the wrong time. Yeah. JC was doing a spot with Wes where we were like pushing him ahead with a stick or something. His walking stick. Yeah. And that time, at the exact same time, I got eliminated. So the camera cut to that. It is what it is. You can't help those things. But no, we worked on that elimination together, and I'm really happy with it. My caddy were in there as well, and we went through a few different versions of that elimination. Me and Troy and my caddy were practicing different things to do until we landed on that, and I were very happy with that. One of the ones was Troy Ryan like military pressing my caddy and throwing him onto me, and we both fly out. But we just ended up not like gelling with that. I think my caddy were a little bit nervous about it because they're not super far along. But they'll get there because they're fun. Like, shout out time for my caddy, by the way. Aloe is amazing. I'm saying this to Aloe right now. You are amazing. I love you so much. Thank you for everything you've done. They have improved my act tenfold. As soon as I started, because they originally weren't going to be like a caddy, they were just kind of like, they were just a runner who Gung Ho had like berated into helping them out on the first show where I did the teleboard gimmick. And then we just slowly started working on it more and more until I was like, hey, you should come out with me on the next show again, as if Gung Ho was like hired you to be his caddy. And then Aloe came up with the idea of like buying the orange polo shirt and the sweatbands, and they got caddy printed on it. And I'm like, that's amazing. And we pitched it to they bought that before we pitched it to JC, by the way, so which were bold, but we were confident we'd get it, and we did. JC liked it, and when we came out on the next show and did the act a bit more concrete together, it got really over, and people loved it. And Caddy is now, I would say, quite over himself.
Yes. Dude, eventually down the road, the Caddy face turn. It's gonna. Dude.
Well, who knows what'll happen?
Like I say, down the road kind of thing. But that's going to start building at some point. It might not. But as wrestling fans, we're programmed to kind of be like, come on, tag team's going to split up at some point. You always kind of question who would be the face, who would be the heel. You've kind of got this caddy. At some point, enough's going to be enough to punch you in the face.
Yeah, my caddy is like there is the classic storyline of like. There's only so many times you can see, servant who gets berated by master. That's a classic wrestling storyline, and it is the thing of how long can we see the beleaguered servant get berated before they eventually snap. I'm not going to say too much about the future plans.
Oh no! I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's just me fantasy booking, dude. Yeah.
No, you're welcome to fantasy book away. It's just obviously I don't want to give anything away.
No. I won't expect you to, dude. But yeah, I second exactly what you sort of said about the Caddie. The work's awesome. It just completes the character. It works so well. Like I mentioned that Rumble moment, and what made it as well was doing the chalks and the facial expression
made the moment. Like the moment is like it's funny. Just Gung Ho throwing everybody out of the ring and thinking he's got everybody out, but the constant and the camera work were amazing, and the editing were amazing, and the constant cutting between Gung Ho throwing everybody out and the teleport being notched up. The Caddie's facial expression, the camera work, the funny detail that the Caddie isn't doing a 5-bar gate, and the commentator goes, "Caddie needs to be taught how to do a 5-bar gate." That were a funny little thing. And then everybody getting up and Lily Winter socking me in the face, and then Isaac North giving me a big choke bomb. Yeah, it were exactly as we almost exactly as we went to plan. I think the time of it went a bit soon, and I were a bit like, oh shit, the 10-second timer started. I was supposed to get ping-ponged around a little bit more, but it is what it is.
Minor quibble.
Because the moment still landed really well.
Yes.
I was over the moon with it. I think it's become a regular thing where every time I finish a True Grit show, I feel great. I feel really happy. Like I say, I do think the stuff I'm getting to do there, the stipulation matches, what not just JC, but the people sponsoring me are giving me is amazing. Like the Lego match, the fact that I got picked for that. I hope, and I think that Lego match and doing so good in that Lego match, and again, I couldn't have done that good without Team Strange, but doing that good in a Lego match, I think made people go, "Oh, we're now going to put Gung Ho in our stipulation thing." I don't want to give any.
Paul, obviously, shout out to Paul as well, wrestling art, because you followed the Lego match with the Tea Party match.
I don't want to give anything away, but there might be future stipulation matches for Gung Ho Muttley. Who knows what fun little gimmick we're getting this weekend,
dude? Because when True Grit announced they were doing the episodic stuff, York was going to be used to film. Myself and Ian Baker, I'll give him full credit for this. He kind of looked at me and was like, "That is perfect for Gung Ho Muttley." You've got TV, you've got episodic wrestling. Gung Ho's great on the shows. Again, Ian goes to Blackheart. He sees all the good stuff kind of thing. He's a massive fan. But it's when you've got episodic TV, you want variety. You want that option. You can have a 30-minute match, or you can have a stipulation match, or you can cut promos. That's needed. That's key when you're doing episodes. And that's what Gung Ho Muttley brings. You have that option. Any promoter who's doing episodes would want a Muttley on the roster kind of thing, in my opinion. Because,
I think that the TV episodes have been great in a way. I've really liked the format of it. And I think, having those regular things to kind of tide people over and give people extra True Grit content is great. I think it's a great use of the York shows. And hopefully I have been, making use of them for my character, because the Tea Party match was on there, and the Lego match was on there. And I hope I get more opportunities to do fun TV related stuff.
It's the promos and stuff as well, dude. Like I say, it's not just the matches. You can use got to fill 5 minutes, right? We've got a promo slot. We need to get somebody over, or we can use somebody. Gosh, we've got Gung Ho Muttley now with a green screen, dude.
And the promo I cut a bit ago when I kind of introduced, even though I'd already had a match, I had the Blackheart Fatal 4-Way as yourself and Nikki and others affectionately put it. Even though that was my debut at True Grit, I do actually kind of see my match against Sammy when I came back with the tallyboard gimmick. I sort of see that as my re-debut, because that was the full integration of the gimmick I was then going to start doing. I pitched the tally board to JC like quite a few months prior, and he liked the idea, but he was waiting for a time to pull it off and pull the trigger on it. And so that was kept in the bank for, I want to say, like a good 4 or 5 months from mentioning it to JC to finally using it. Maybe not that long. Maybe I'm extending that in my head, but there was definitely a good time where from mentioning it to using it, there was a bit of time. Nikki sponsored me in that match with Sammy, and we kind of saw that as the opportunity to go in with it. And so I thought, like, this is it now. My gimmick is starting. This is the idea I wanted to do. We're off to the races with it. So I saw that as my opportunity to get it over. And I thought, this is a make or break moment. If I fuck this up, if I don't deliver on my promo, if I don't deliver in my match, this idea is dead in the water. And so I was nervous. So I really wanted to deliver with that promo. I rehearsed that promo a bit more than I tend to rehearse promos. A lot of promos I will just go out and talk. And I'll have general ideas of what I want to say. And I'll have bullet points I want to hit. But the promo that I did there was very rehearsed because I was like, I need to hit at a certain time. I need to say specific stuff. I need to get this over. And my caddy gave me the list. And I listed all the sports that I've excelled at. And I was like, oh man, I hope I get a what chant. And I did. I got a what after like the second thing I mentioned. I was like, whoo! I feel like it's a perfect thing in wrestling where if you start listing something and you leave that gap, people will what. And they did. I was great. As soon as I started whatting, I almost stopped the list because I was like, yeah, I did the thing I wanted. And the list got over. The list, I think, was the most. I think the list got more remembered than the kegging. But the list got really over with mentioning all the silly sports. It got to like Red Bull soapbox, and then it got to Wii Sports, you know. And I think that landed and helped the gimmick.
Dude, we're wrestling fans. We love lists. It's one of the, you could list off 1,004 sports.
Yes, I was inspired by Chris Jericho's list of. Is it 104 holds or
1,004, man? It's 1,004.
Yeah,
because it was against Malenko, who's the man of 1,001 holds.
That's it. I see. Yeah.
So he had 1,004, and every other one was armbar.
Yes, armbar. I was inspired by that, very much so. Although my list wasn't nearly as long as Chris Jericho's. But
you're still young, man. You're still young.
Yes. I mean, I had to omit a few hundred sports, or the list would go on for too long.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that thankfully worked and it got it over. So that were a bit of a make or break promo for me. But
it got over though, man, because the fans are cheering as well. Like I think it's like I'll credit down with this. I'm not going to take the blunt, right? But one of us started it. Like your medals were from Temu or something like, or Temu medals or something along those lines. But the fans are getting into it. The fans are chanting, and the fans, you're getting a reaction from them.
I want people to think Gung Ho Muttley's kind of true, not shit, but like the whole point. I always say, for me, Gung Ho Muttley is if you mix Kurt Angle with Jay from the In-Betweeners, where he is this pathological liar who wants to be a sports star. Like, everything Gung Ho Muttley says, he's talking out of his ass. He obviously hasn't done any of these sports, but that's the fun of it, is how far will Gung Ho go in his lies? And he's so far that he almost believes it himself, Like, I think he's completely delusional. And that's how I play Gung Ho in True Grit. I want to get over this element of he's not what he says he is, but he thinks he is.
Yes, Mate, that broke me. I can just imagine that now. I'm just kind of like, I just imagine, because again, you've got the whole Jay thing. It just reminded me of, like, I think there's an episode where they talked about, whether it was championship manager at the time or football manager or something. And Neil sort of says, have you played it? And Jay's like, yeah, mate, finished it. It's like, how do you finish football manager? But the fact that Jay just said it was like, yeah, mate, finished it.
Yeah, completed it, mate. Yeah, very much like the promo that I did there, what I was just referring to. There are moments like that. In fact, I think when I say I've completed Wii Sports 5 times, that was actually a reference to that line, exactly that line. So yeah, very much like Jay is a bit of a, somewhat of an inspiration to the comedic side of Gung Ho Muttley. And I kind of hope that's how he comes across.
Yes.
Like, but the key, and I can't remember who suggested it. Somebody was saying like they wanted to do an idea for a comedy spot, and they wanted to do a press up contest where they do loads of press ups and Gung Ho can't do a press up. And I was like, no, Gung Ho's not shit at wrestling, and he's not unathletic. Like the point is, he's not what he thinks he is, but he's still good. Yeah, like he can still do a press up. Like I'm not the size of Troy Ryan, but I go to the gym. I'm a big-ish guy. I'm around 200 pounds. I'm fairly muscular. I think it would be a bit silly for me to not be able to do a press up.
Yeah.
I'm picking people. I'm doing power bombs and power slams on people. I'm doing all this stuff. How on earth could I not do a press up? And it's not just a press up thing. It's like there's a bar of like how useless Gung Ho Muttley is allowed to be, and I think there's like he's allowed to be stupid and narcissistic and put his foot in his mouth and get himself into problems where like he could have easily not caused a problem for himself if he just didn't big himself up way beyond his ability. But he's still capable and he's still a wrestler who can wrestle. He's just not as good as he thinks he is. That's always a thing for me. So it's like whenever people suggest spots that make it so like Gung Ho just seems completely inept, it's like, no, that's against what I'm trying to do with the character. Lies are quite fun things to come up with. I've just started. I haven't done one in a while. I've been very busy.
Oh, dude, yeah, I was going to mention the sports facts.
Sports star facts. So I've been doing them, and I've got quite a few more to go. But I've just not found time in my upload schedule. But that is a series I will continue doing, and it's just, these elaborate tales.
Mate, I said that you taught double A, the spine buster.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. In fairness, I do a pretty good spine buster. Mate. It's not Arns, but it's a good spine buster.
Yeah, mate, it's awesome. I love it. Anybody knows me, that's one of my favorite. If I see a spine buster in a match, I pop. I'm just like, yes, that is one of my favorite moves of all times. And I judge it very harshly, kind of thing. So if somebody hits a piss ball, I'm a bit like, ooh, I see a good one. Oh, mate, it's made my day, kind of thing. And yeah, you hit a superb spine buster, dude.
Me and Sean only had this conversation recently where we said, it's a difference. If you like a move, cool. I try and add it to your moveset, but you've got to be good at it. And I feel like there's a lot of people who they see something on TV and they go, oh, I love that. And then they try and do it and they're not good at it. And they go, oh, well, I'm going to do it anyway because I like it. It's like, look, if you can't do the thing you like, you're detracting from the thing you like, Yeah. Like, if you can't do a good spine buster, then don't do a spine buster. There are lots of things that I'd love to do that either I'm not good at or just wouldn't work for Gung Ho Muttley. For example, one of my favorite moves in wrestling. It's always been one of my favorite moves, and it's because of Batista, who I used to love. It's the powerbomb. I love power bombs. I think they're ace. They're top 3 favorite moves in wrestling. Wow. I do a power bomb only in certain cases. I do a power bomb at fountains because I'm their main event heel, and I'm treated like a bit of a powerhouse nasty bastard. Yeah. So when I'm facing smaller opponents, I will hard power bomb, and it's a near fall because it's like, damn, I absolutely send them into the mat. For a moment where I power bombed Sammy Blue onto the apron, threw him into the ring, hit him with a short arm clothesline, picked him back up, power bombed him, and then stacked him. And I feel like that's a very convincing near fall. But in True Grit, I ain't doing a power bomb because the Gung Ho Muttley I play in True Grit ain't doing power bombs. It doesn't fit Gung Ho Muttley in True Grit, because it's a big powerhouse move. I can't be doing power bombs in my position where I am and my character when Brady Phillips is doing power bombs that look a million times more destructive and way better than mine, way up the card. That's just not for me to do. You've got to realize you got to change your moveset for where you are on the card, what role you're playing.
And who else is there as well, kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. And even if Brady wasn't there, I still wouldn't do it. You know, it's not just about Brady doing power bombs. You know, I'm just making a mention that like I think people need to, you know, make their movesets what work for them rather than what they just think is cool.
Yes.
You know, because like again, like springboard stuff. There's loads of springboard moves that I think look great. Am I going to try and do them?
No.
Probably not. You know, I can do high flying stuff. Like at Blackheart, I've whipped out a moonsault here and there. You know, like I can backflip. Like I'm actually way more athletic and acrobatic than people would think. I still can't springboard, but like I can do certain acrobatic things. But I still am not going to do that at True Grit. In True Grit, there've been moments where we've slightly gone against some of the rules, not intentionally, but slightly gone against some of the rules. And for example, the rule would dictate that the babyface should be the small guy and the heel should be the large guy. Again, not always the case, but that's generally the rule. And I'm fighting Team Strange, and I'm definitely the small guy, and I'm the heel. And Team Strange is definitely the big guy, and he's the face. But I started getting cheered at different points in that match, and I went to the back, and both JC and Team Strange were like, "You were getting cheered at certain points in there," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because I was a small underdog. You know, even though I'm being a piece of shit and I'm being a narcissist, it's hard not to cheer the small guy getting the leg up on the big guy. You know, even if the small guy is being an asshole." And I think there were loads of just fun spots in that match that the crowd were popping for as well.
The old days is, you know, Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes. You know, Ric Flair's not a small guy, but he's a small guy compared to Dusty. But Ric Flair was the heel, Dusty was the face. So it does work. There are examples like that.
And yeah, you know, Ric Flair, one of the best heel workers of all time. Dusty Rhodes, one of the best babyface workers of all time. You know, you have to have that level of skill and talent to make it work. You know, and there's loads of examples of the 10%. 10% is still a pretty high percentage, but I just feel like the better you are, the more likely you are to be able to break that 10% than your average trainee who's suggesting something that you're trying to tell them, no, this won't work. And I'm sorry, but you're a trainee 6 months into the game. You're not going to make it work. I'm sorry. You know.
Yeah. Be realistic. But I mean, it's a great habit. You know, maybe in a couple of years revisit this idea, but not just yet.
No, not just
but
yet.
Yeah, man, it's like I say, it's great to have ideas, but you've got to kind of be like realistic in what it does, but also understand the character. Like you said, you know, you don't want to you want to protect the Gung Ho thing. You don't want him to look daft. You're protecting the character. You understand that character better than anyone else. So you know what works, you know what doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, by the way, whoever suggested, I genuinely don't remember who suggested it, but they meant it well. As soon as I explained this to them, like, oh no, never mind. They were so nice about it. But like for them, I think they just see, oh, he's the comedy guy, so he'll look stupid, and I'm happy to look stupid. I'm very happy
if it works, if it means something.
Sense, yes. Gung Ho getting his kegs pulled down and having football boxes, fine, perfect. I came up with that idea because somebody went like, "Oh, how much do you have to pay to do that?" And I'm like, "I fucking suggested it. I bought the football boxes
on that day."
I tried to buy boxes with my face on them, but they wouldn't deliver in time. Such a shame because I thought that would have been hilarious. But I bought the football ones instead. Maybe in the future I'll do it again with Gung Ho face on them. But yeah, so I don't mind showing my ass. I think heels should be, at least heels in my position, should be uncool. They should be, the baby faces should look cool. The heels should look a moron. That's how I operate. And even in Fountains, where I am the main event heel, I am treated as the biggest threat on the heel side of things at Fountains. I still make myself look like a moron. I still try my hardest to not be cool. You know, even when I'm doing these power bombs and short arm clotheslines and power slams and spine busters, and I'm tapping people out legitimately. Like I win a lot of time clean at Fountains with my ankle lock. You know, like I break the rules a lot too, but like I have quite a few clean wins under my belt. And I think
after the two guys on the outside of, done a little bit.
Oh yeah, my championship run, not the case there. But if you go back, you see that I've got like Gung Ho actually, whilst devious, is able to dismantle his opponents quite genuinely.
Which works for a good heel. You don't have to. That's the thing. Just because you're heel, you don't have to lose by shenanigans all the time, kind of thing. That's what winds me up sometimes. Is like you can be a solid heel, you can be a gnarly guy. I mean, Brady kind of did it really well at True Grit when he was the heel. He looked strong at points. His match against Will Cruz, he looked like John Cena, but there was still just, I don't know whether it be a low blow, just one thing at the end. That's it. That's all it needed, or just something. That's like. But for the most of the match, man, you look solid.
I think in the things like that it's more scummy when a heel cheats when they kind of don't need to.
Yeah,
you still could have fucking won that, and you still got your boy involved. Like
Adam Bolt. Adam Bolt does it all the time.
Exactly, and it's getting that crowd heat, as well. But yeah, like I say, even at Fountains, I love thinking of spots where it makes Muttley look like an idiot. One of my favorite spots was in my match with Martin Kirby, which is. I low blow Martin, and I'm like laughing about it, and then Martin gets me back with 3 consecutive low blows, and every single one is just more ridiculous than the last. And I remember pitching back to Martin, and he were laughing, and we did it, and it went off perfect. Like I think the first one he just gets me with a normal one, and then the second one he slingshots a guy, one of my guys, into my nuts. And then the third one, my other henchman lands on my nuts. And it's just like one after the other. And it's just like every single time I'm like over the top selling it. And the same in the match with, with Bandicoot and with Sammy and with Billy. There's all these moments where Muttley looks stupid.
Mate, I've used the photo for the episode graphic. But again, talking about favourite moments, man, there's a list of Gung Ho things. But the photo that I've used, I can't remember the guy. I want to say Joe or something like that, but I can't remember the guys.
Joe.
Joe, that's it. I thought it was. I was like, I take a guess of myself. I'm not sure it's Joe, but I say it's not.
Joe Doe on Instagram. Yeah,
that's it. Joe Doe. It's all about the dough. He's so money. But yeah, that photo. Like I said, it being at FCB as well, man. Like I said, just you falling back.
It's brilliant. It's so funny. Like I out loud laughed when I saw that picture. Just the cross is so perfectly placed. Yeah. People were like, "Oh, is that part of one of the Jesus Christian shows?" No, it is not. It is accidental.
But it works so well.
It's so funny. And it's in my theme. I don't know if you in my theme, it calls me Yorkshire Jesus at one
It does,
point.
yeah.
And then there's that picture of me like that. Oh, it's so funny. It's so stupid. I love it.
Well, that's why I've actually started the song for this episode. This is the first line that you'll hear in the intro, if you watch it, is Yorkshire Jesus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, it's just so funny. And it reminds me of the scene in Spider-Man 2 when Peter's being carried by everybody on the train. I posted that image, the photo there. I posted it on my Instagram and put the caption, "Careful, he's a hero," which is exactly what one of the guys in Spider-Man 2 says when they're carrying Peter.
But I can so imagine you do the face, just the facial expression as well. That when he's on the train, that's dumbass. Yeah, but that's such a Muttley expression.
And what makes it funny is in that moment, it's not even like a moment that's like that. It's like Bandicoot hits me in the face and I fall backwards.
Yeah.
And my bodyguards just catch me and then they put me back up. It's a really quick moment. But in the picture, it just looks like we've intentionally done some sort of like Muttley has self-sacrificed himself to save everybody at Fountains. And now he's carried by his faithful bodyguards.
The passion of Muttley.
Passion of Muttley. It does look like I love that picture. So funny.
Yeah, that probably is one of my favorite, if not my favorite ever photo from a wrestling show.
There's some incredibly talented people who are lending their talents to wrestling lately for little to no, asking little to nothing. Joe is one of them, who's such an incredible photographer. Grapple artistry is incredible. I've seen you've been using their support local wrestling graphic. So good. Like their stuff, I wish more people knew about them. I feel like, not to get like on a big rant about AI, but I feel like a lot of wrestlers have started using AI for things. And I really wish they'd instead like go to graphic
Hire somebody.
designers,
Yeah.
you know, because grapple artistry, they're so good. They asked me all the things I wanted. They were so attentive. They showed me the process. They were like, "Oh, do you like this?" You know, and then in the end, it's amazing because they made this incredible shirt design. It's so good.
I was going to shout that out before I let you go, kind of thing. So I wanted to plug kind of thing.
I just kind of naturally came onto this, but like, yeah, the support look. They did George Hunter's shirt. They've done Billy's stuff. They're working on a new things for me. They did my logo that I have on everything. I go to them for all my logos, and I think my stuff looks great. And I just wish people would realize, and it doesn't even have to be graphic artistry. There's so many good graphic designers out there that I just wish people would use instead of going the more easy routes.
Yeah, but, no, dude, I'm right there. I mean, I've stopped drawing basically now. If anybody's known me for years, I used to do artwork all the time. I used to draw like wrestling artwork. Yeah. I've got loads. I've kind of just given up. So I'm just like, what's the point of spending 24 hours doing something that somebody can do in 2 seconds using a freaking film?
Yeah, I know. It's hard to.
It's disheartening me, man. I'm literally like, yeah.
As a creative, somebody who wants to work in, in the arts in all sorts of ways. I see wrestling as working in the arts in a way.
Yeah.
I work in film. And stuff like that, and I'm an actor, and it's very. We'll get onto that in a second, into something in a second that I've obviously talked to you about, but like, it's very disheartening to see AI take over, the creative fields in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And I feel like it affects wrestling more than people think.
Talking of AI. But film, if this is leading well, I think it's going to.
I'll touch on it very lightly. But Gung Ho Muttley is in a movie. Gung Ho Muttley's in a movie that will be coming up. You'll be seeing lots more of it. The marketing starts, I think, this month, hopefully, and it's a found footage horror movie, where I've made it. Like I've made the movie, didn't just star in it. I wrote and directed it as well. It is a Gung Ho Muttley creation entirely, and it's called Heraldry Paranormal. And yeah, I play Seamus McCoy, a paranormal investigator who's a bit of a. He's got a heart of gold, but there's not much going on up here, is what I'll say about him. He's a sweetheart. He's a boisterous chap.
His heart's in the right place.
His heart is in the right place, but his brain is nowhere to be found. He's a chavvy type guy. He's very working class, which I relate to a lot because I grew up very working class, and grew up not necessarily a chav, but I think a lot of upper class people would have referred to me as that growing up. So it is a role that I relate to quite a lot, and I think it's a really great film, and I'm excited for people to see it, and I hope people give it a go. Hoping for an October release date. So yeah, if you want to watch the sports star. Now he's conquered the world of sports, and now he's ready to conquer the world of acting. The
red carpet awaits, man. The red carpet awaits.
I'm sure by the end of the year, Gung Ho Muttley will be toting his Oscars that he's won for his role as Seamus McCoy.
April next year, when the Oscars come around.
Yes, exactly.
Early contender, right there. See it when it comes out.
He wins in every category, obviously, even the ones he wins. Best actor and actress somehow. He's just that good. That will, I'm sure, be a promo.
Maybe I can just imagine you come out with the medals and a few Oscars, like as of after this film comes out, kind of thing. Just being like,
yeah.
Oh,
but yeah, very exciting stuff. I would say,
dude, mate, I'm hyped. I'm legitimately like, me. I'm a massive wrestling and films outside of my family. That's my two, and comic books. That's my three things outside of my family.
Yeah.
So you mentioned. I mean, if we ever get Gung Ho Muttley comic book down the road, mate, I'll pop for that. But
I would love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'd draw one, but what's the point? I could just do one in 2 minutes on AI for you. But Dude, yeah, films, mate. As soon as we had this conversation, obviously, again, I'm not going pulling the curtain too much back, but obviously, I watched Quarantine the other night. Anybody who knows me on Facebook will have seen that I've watched
Yeah.
it. We spoke about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, mentioned Wreck, and then you was like, found footage horror. Interesting. I was like, huh. And then
Yeah, I'm a big found footage guy. I love found footage horror. I think there's a lot that can be done. We're no longer talking about wrestling, but it's fine with me. There's a lot that can be done with the genre of found footage that I feel like isn't done.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, in the day of the internet, like YouTube and online and vlogging and all this stuff, I feel like, found footage has changed now from what it was. One of my favorite movies, by the way, is Blair Witch. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. I could talk for an hour and 23 minutes about Blair Witch because I just think it's phenomenal.
It was the daddy of all this found footage. It was the originator of the found footage.
It does everything right for me. I just think it's amazing. And it more or less is the father of found footage. And I feel like since then a lot of things have been trying to replicate Blair Witch. I get it. It inspired a lot of us filmmakers, but I feel like now in the modern age, there's a lot that can be done with the internet and online and internet culture that isn't being explored. And it's something I wanted to kind of explore a bit in.
Well, sorry about it. I'm thinking about it. Obviously, we're talking about Blair Witch being like the father of the found footage things, but he was also the father of promoting a film, using the internet to promote a film. They were doing these like missing posters. They were doing like this whole spiel, leading up to it, kind of thing, making people question: is it real? Is it a film? Is it real? Is it footage? Because of what they were putting out, their PR stuff was amazing. Say for Cloverfield. Cloverfield was amazing.
Yeah.
Before Cloverfield came out, they had websites up, like company website, business websites, just randomly reporting random shit being in the ocean, coming along like, in the ocean before.
I think Blair Witch is promotion and how it marketed itself. I think that is one of the milestones of filmmaking history. I think film changed after that. There just isn't. There wasn't anything before it, and there hasn't been anything that I think has reached the heights of what Blair Witch achieved since in its marketing. Like everything it did. Yeah, or Cloverfield, a great example, but I feel like Blair Witch changed the game. I'm not saying other things didn't do it well as well, but I just feel like Blair Witch came along and just did it so phenomenally.
If it wasn't for Blair Witch, there wouldn't be a Cloverfield.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's been loads of examples since of things doing it and doing it well, but like for the impact and change that something had on a medium, the way Blair Witch promoted was amazing.
It's like Star Wars with the merch. You got Star Wars with the merch, and you got Blair Witch with the PR kind of thing. Yeah, these are things where you look back through a movie timeline and you can pinpoint, changes in the industry or things that,
And you look at it again, like kind of by accident the other year, you had Barbie and Oppenheimer came out the same day and did the sort of Barbenheimer thing. And it was sort of accidental marketing strategy that just happened, but it worked really well for both films. And I feel like that then changed the zeitgeist a bit and things started trying to like fabricate like, oh, look at these two films coming out on the same day. And it's like, no, you can't recreate. Sometimes magic just happens.
Lightning in a bottle. It just you can't capture it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
But dude, mate, this was really bad timing because I was going to sort of, obviously you kind of mentioned like we've been talking for sort of a while now, and you just kind of got me talking about films now. I'm like, fuck. But I don't want the episode to go about an hour and 20 is maximum for my editor. So I'm like, if I go any further, I'm not going to be able to mess about the episode.
It's okay.
Part 3 at some point. Part 3 in this one.
We will do a part 3 when I've done a bit more and I've got more to talk about. To be fair, I feel like there's been stuff left on the table here, but hey.
Mate, there's so much I came on, but like, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this. Not even touched on, like, really, I know we've mentioned them, but we've not even really gone into detail with the Martin Kirby stuff, the Jack Bandicoot stuff.
I know.
Things like that. It's just like, shit. But yeah, I kind of need to...
I'll say a bunch of stuff a little bit now at the end. I'll give a shout out to Martin Kirby and Jack Bandicoot and Tim Strange and Troy Ryan. I think, as these guys who have, like, mixed it up with a little bit, some in larger cases than others, specifically Martin and Tim and Bandicoot, because I had full matches with those guys. Like the knowledge they imparted onto me, it was massive. Getting to work with those guys was a really great experience. I feel like Martin Kirby in particular, because of like the amount he's done in the business, it's just been fantastic how much he's taught me. Just in that one match, just like it truly kind of inspirational being in there with such a professional and someone who knows the craft as well as he does. And yeah, just a massive shout out to all the people who maybe I've not mentioned, but who know they've been a big part of my career in the last 2 years since I've last been on here. A lot of incredible people who I have a lot of love in my heart for. So yeah.
Dude. Yeah, honestly, just echo that. I mean, like, yeah, there's got to be part 3, man. This just feels, this is like the Empire Strikes Back of the it's been left open, and it's just kind of like, but it's like just again random film references coming out now. That's why I need to stop. Otherwise, I'm just going to be just going off the rails. But dude, let people know where they can hit you up on the socials, where they can find you, so they know where to go, and also obviously buy your merch.
Yeah, so Gung Ho Muttley, I am on all socials. That's Facebook and Instagram. I'm not on Twitter, so you won't find me on there. If you find anything on there, it's not me. I'm also, and I'm not on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. If you go follow Heraldry Paranormal and Noisy Red Cinema for all the information on my upcoming movie. But yeah, and you can buy my shirts. It's not yet on Pro Wrestling Tees. But if you go to any events that I'm wrestling at, Blackheart, True Grit, Fountains, any of these places, you can buy my merchandise at any company I'm working. So head on over and support your local indie and buy a Gung Ho Muttley shirt. There's not many left. I
might actually drop you a message before Sunday's show at True Grit. And,
there's 11 left.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's half of the kids' sizes, so there's even less left if you're an adult.
Well, worst comes to worst, I'll buy gents one. He can rip.
Maybe I'll do another shipment.
No, man, keep a limited edition. Just do another T-shirt afterwards and just be like, you know what? Yeah, but then maybe do one down the road and just be like, found footage, found T-shirts, even more limited edition. Buy them now. One of every size. Once done, that's it. But mate, honestly, thank you so much. I literally just absolutely love this conversation, love this episode, love talking to you anytime. It's easy, man. I can just talk to you and it just flows. It flows too easy. Time's gone too quick. But to everybody watching, thank you for watching. Hit like, subscribe, share, comment, all the generic stuff we ask you to do. Keep your eyes peeled. Got some guest announcements coming up. Obviously, join us next Monday as we, myself, Dan and Paul, will be reviewing this Sunday's True Grit, and no doubt we'll be talking about whoever Gung Ho Muttley faces at that show. Shout out to Big T, obviously he's not going to be there, so there will be a replacement. Me and Dan were speculating on Monday's episode, the hype episode, about who it could possibly be. One of us said Troy Ryan, who was like, mate, that would be amazing. Alfie, I'd imagine Gung Ho and Dee Dee getting it on, just be like, mate, this would be...
Gangrel got mentioned.
Yeah, Gangrel got mentioned.
I would not turn my nose up at Gangrel, that would be awesome.
Dude, I can imagine you coming out wearing garlic around your neck and stuff.
Yes, that would be go full into a vampire thing for sure.
That's it, a bottle of holy water.
Yeah.
Dude, just the cross. Mate, the passion, the cross again. You're coming to
Yeah, I'm going to say, I'll have to recreate that to help myself out.
Dude, I'm not getting started again. Mate, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, everybody, thank you for watching. And remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.